Alright, so my previous video was a satire poking fun at infantry players for complaining about the dominance of air in small fights. Going off on that idea, this video is going to present two easy-to-implement solutions to problems within the game. The first will help deaths by air to be less frustrating and more avoidable, and the second will help air to deal with AA scaling too hard in larger battles. Now, one of the reasons why getting killed by air as an infantry player is so frustrating is because of how unexpected it is. Normally, you'll just be running from place to place and immediately die. There's no learning experience, and while in reality the ESF that killed you probably had a good deal of trouble securing you as a kill, it still comes out of nowhere and feels cheap. To put it plainly, infantry needs a tool to inform them of whether or not they should be checking the skies and taking the air into consideration. Here's a simple solution. Put an icon representing either a blue Reaver, red Mosquito, or purple Scythe near each player's minimap. Depending on which is easier to code, have these icons either represent the air in a 200-meter radius around the player, or have them represent the air in whatever hex the player happens to be in. Either one works, though the former would probably be more effective. Have these icons represent the dominant faction's air force in whichever area I just mentioned, and have them glow depending on how hard they're rolling. Going even further, trim the icon with each faction's secondary color to indicate 100% air domination. Thus, as an NC player, you'd know that you'd need to really alter your playstyle significantly if you looked at your minimap to see a bright purple scythe with cyan trim. You'd also be aware that the air is an open conflict if you keep seeing, say, alternating images of a dull Reaver and a dull Scythe. This one icon would give players an accessible way to avoid, and at the least, learn from air-to-ground deaths in the game. It would help promote the combined arms nature of PlanetSide by letting people know, in simple terms, that, hey, the air is going to be a big part of this battle, you need to be careful. Let's transition now to the second idea. Say that the NC guy sees that his air force is owning face, and wants to use that advantage to remove the enemy team's armor. The best thing for him to do would be to remove enemy AA guns in the area so that his air can safely bomb targets, but in the current build, that isn't a simple task. One of the biggest problems with flak scaling is that infantry and armor have literally zero incentive to kill enemy AA guns. Hell, they don't even usually know where enemy AA is. For instance, imagine a battle at Tarich Tech Plant. 99% of the AA in this area is going to be up at the top of canyons, completely off the radar of infantry and armor. Even if a really cognizant infantry player managed to notice a Skyguard over Broken Arch Road, it would be a huge loss in score per hour to climb or jump jet to the top of the canyon just for a slim chance of killing a lightning. This is where my second idea comes in, a request aid feature. To put it simply, make it so that if an air vehicle holds the Q spot button over an enemy AA source, a familiar menu pops up with two options. Mousing up will select a spot option, and mousing down will select a request aid option. Request aid would be a passive ability for all air vehicles on a 30-second cooldown that produces a soft waypoint on an enemy AA source that's visible for everyone in the hex for 2 minutes. This single ability would make a very important thing happen. AA would now be known to every enemy in the hex from the moment they open fire, and possibly even give an XP bonus if killed, depending on how far you want to take the idea. This one very big change would force anti-air to rely on its team for protection, rather than relocating to an incredibly open, incredibly empty spot with no opposition, and just fire away uncontested. Bursters would need to stick with their teammates, and Skyguards would need to actually protect and bring up the rear and armor columns, protecting the tanks that are in turn protecting them. Hell, I'd even further recommend this by awarding tank savior bonuses to Skyguards that give scaling surface-to-air XP based on how many friendly tanks are nearby. In other words, you'd make bank as a Skyguard by protecting your faction's armor despite not being in a position to get as many kills. Alright, that's everything I have on the subject. Please leave your feedback in comments here and on Reddit about these ideas. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.